is AI helping us, or AI is actually defining us to think the way they think, right?
There is kind of $1 trillion of value that can be unlocked by adopting some of the GenAI technology.
Every problem in India is a human scale problem, right? We have a billion population. Post-COVID world, I think the way the tech has moved, it's much steeper than it ever used to be.
We saw the Apple event where they've introduced Apple Intelligence, and where your Siri would it's almost like a personalized thing based on your phone, on your thing. Is that something in line with?
Yeah, absolutely. But I would like to have full control over my model and the data, right? The moment I share that model with someone else, my uniqueness is gone, right? So I think, yeah, that's a very interesting topic. Running a horizontal SaaS versus a vertical SaaS is completely different. It's a completely different ball game altogether. Now we have organic versus inorganic threats which are coming, right? Especially with GenAI coming to the play, we will never know what's the source of the threat and how it can remodel itself into multiple other dimensions, right?
That can be done only on the cloud platform like what Guidewire provides.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Tech Talks. I'm Vandana Nair, Senior Technology Journalist at AIM. And today I'm at the office of Guidewire, one of the leading software providers for P&C insurers. I have with me Mohammed Anzy, VP Engineering and Managing Director India, and Raman CV, Director of Engineering Guidewire. Hello Anzy and Raman, welcome to Tech Talks.
Hi.
To begin with, can we talk about Guidewire? It's been an industry platform for property and casualty insurers. So can you just talk about what that is, and having, I think, started over 23 years ago, can you explain to me about the journey that you've had and the relevance that is there in India?
Yeah, I think, again, thanks Vandana for coming to our campus. I think most of us are not really familiar with the property and casualty insurance domain. For Guidewire, when we really wanted to start, our founders, Marcus and team, they really looked at the different industries the vertical industries where the technology penetration was slightly low, and they found out that property casualty insurance was one such domain where there is a huge room for technology infusion, and that's how we founded Guidewire. And again, one of the biggest challenge for the insurance industry is a highly regulated industry, right? The entry barriers are very high. I think the initial founding team really struggled for the last, 10 to 15 years to really create a mark and create a revenue model for Guidewire. And then the company started realizing the value the platform offers, and then it built an ecosystem around it. And that's how the growth has happened. We have close to 400 customers across multiple geographies. One of the largest things that we are doing at this point of time is moving the customers to the cloud. That's a very significant journey for us. The insurance domain as such is highly regulated. There are huge entry barriers. Customer would try to stick to the existing business processes, not really reimagine. That's the challenge for us. That's also an opportunity for us to take these customers from an on-premise or legacy system to the cloud is something that we are doing at scale now.
And what are some of the common challenges, say, with the insurance market in India specifically?
I think I would start with the foundational piece, which is the penetration in India. The insurance penetration would be sub 10% in India. So there is still a room for people to have insurance. So that's one of the key challenges. The second is the technology infusion, right? While the insurtech is really picking it up, the core business processes are still very outdated from a technology point of view. We use many legacy software. We have huge amount of integrations. Are we really using the full data that we possess? It's still not there because we have completely fragmented systems. Something which you use for the claim is not related to the way the policy is being issued, right? So there are very disintegrated systems at play in many of these large institutions. So I think, first of all, the way I would see this lower penetration. Second is the market is just picking up. While the insurtech is at scale picking it up, but they are really focusing on not redefining the entire business process, but they cover the fag end. maybe the customer experience, the consumer experience would be better with some of the new companies coming up. But then, are we really looking at the data footprint and leveraging for predictive analysis? Is still not there because the systems are very fragmented at this scale, right? I think that's one of the key challenges that I see in the Indian insurance market.
And is that something that can, say, be regulated, or say if the government brings in some...
I think from a government perspective, there are multiple initiatives which are coming up, especially in the health. There is a unified portal which is coming. The AHA stack would be coming up. So there are multiple interventions. The industry is just developing in its growing industry, right? The regulations are getting created at this moment. So it would take some time for us to really be mature in the true sense. But till that point of time, the clear focus I would be looking at is from a tech infusion point of view. Because every problem in India is a human scale problem, right? We have a billion population. And if you have to really make anything work, I think the only solution would be tech. In that aspect, I would really see the insurance companies to adopt more tech, moving to the cloud, moving away from the legacy application, and at the same time, reimagining some of the core business process which is already there. Again, I spoke about the data, right? I mean, are we fully leveraging the data which is there in multiple systems, multiple fragmented systems? No, not really, right? I think that's a bigger challenge and an opportunity at hand for us.
All right. And talking about, say, existing players in India that are offering something that you are also looking into. Like, I think we have these IT players who TCS, so Wipro, Infosys, who are also into PNC software providing. So what is the differentiator? Where does Guidewire fit in this equation?
One of the core premises is that we create a platform for the industry to work on it. We go with a one solution. We go with an ecosystem, right? There are partners, there are companies, partner solutions which are built into the system. There is a huge marketplace where companies are coming and creating integrations. And just to give you a perspective, I think 2 months back, we did a developer summit in India. We had close to 500 people participated in that event. But one of the things that we realized is also the fact that we have close to 11,000 developers, Guidewire developers in India across multiple of our partner companies. So there is a huge ecosystem that we have built. While our internal development team may be 200, 250 people at this point of time, the core dev community of Guidewire is close to 11,000 in India. So that shows the real power of building that community, right? So that's something that we are always proud about. So we are not just giving a point-to-point solution, but we are creating a platform where people could come together and create applications and software which are fine-tuned for the industry that they are operating. I think that's a one unique differentiator that we see.
The other differentiator is the cloud platform that we provide, which is kind of the only platform that you see which can solve many of the use cases, right? If you have to look at the all the GenAI solution that you need to build, the cost to do that in-house is too expensive, right? So we are saying come to the cloud, which we provide. So we say our vision is to provide the cloud platform for our insurers to innovate and grow with us.
How big of a boon do you think is AI in financial sectors, and especially generative AI?
GenAI, as we say, is being kind of not just the hype, latest trend across all the domains and industry that we work, and insurance is again the same, right? So kind of the vast data that we have from various customers and insurers, right? We are seeing that they want to unlock value from that particular data set, right? So with GenAI, I'm able to create new content, right? With various AI-based algorithms, and we see that in the P&C insurance, we are able to make use of that for some of the improving some of the underwriting or risk assessment, or claims management and beyond. And we see that there is kind of $1 trillion of value that can be unlocked by adopting some of the GenAI technology. And some of these, as I mentioned before, requires you a big infrastructure, and that can be done only on a cloud platform like what Guidewire provides.
And generative AI in particular, like, do you see that as a plus, or?
There is so much of data which is sitting there, disparate data in different systems. We see that GenAI is the one which can help or insurers to cover some of these risks, the new risks that we see. Take an example of the cyber risk, right? Every day that we hear about the all the attacks, the malware attacks that keeps happening, right? So if you want our insurers to provide coverage or cover those risks, we definitely need to look at some of these emerging technologies like GenAI to unlock the the value of the data that they have.
So have you implemented any of these generative AI solutions?
Internally, we are adopting some of those technologies.
For us, I think we see any technology as a means to solve a problem. We are completely obsessed with the problem statement at hand, not with the solution, right? GenAI gives a option in terms of addressing some of the challenges. I'd give you very basic examples. Some of the risk documents, right? We used to take 100, 200, 300 pages because there are so much of content being generated. So with GenAI, you have an ability to scan through the policies, look at the data points, and collectively create a document which is needed, right? You don't need someone to really draft everything together, right? So there are very, very detailed use cases that we are currently working on.
So are there any models you can talk about?
Again, our premise is that it's not just one model who would win the race, it's a collective. Again, one of the core beliefs for us is building the ecosystem, right? And for us, yes, it would be an interplay of multiple models which would really make a difference for the people.
You were speaking about cyber security, so which is coming to my next question about the amount of data that you handle, and this is a very critical industry in finance. So what kind of measures do you have, or the technology that you use to ensure that data security and privacy is maintained?
For all the Guidewire product and the services that we provide, right, the safety of the user data is very paramount to us, right? So we handle a lot of PII data for our insurers and the end customers, right? So the multiple measures we have in place. We operate at multiple regions, so we need to be compliant with the data regulation policies of the different regions, like the GDPR in Europe, or it could be CCPA in the US market, right? So make sure that we are building those services within, building those features within our services, right? And with cloud, right, we need to make sure that data is encrypted both in transit and at rest, right? So we ensure we use the latest encryption technologies, and we are running on the AWS cloud, which do provide some of these mechanisms to secure the data in transit. The other, we make sure that we provide the right access to the data. Right? We have right access controls. It is in place so that only those who need are authorized to have access to the data can have access to it, right? And we also make sure that we do regular security audits, which is very important for us, right? And we do what is called as penetration testing, which will basically go and see what are the vulnerabilities that are being exposed on a daily basis to make sure that our service is up to date. So those are some of the ways we make sure that the user data is kept confidential.
So we're talking about the data security and privacy, and also we're kind of testing out generative AI on one side. Now, we have read about cases where, say, your content might be leaked to the company, or say OpenAI, ChatGPT, they may be able to access your information. So does that risk still remain if you're testing out, say, generative AI in some of the solutions that you're having? Like, how would you mitigate that?
I think, yeah. So for many of the companies, I think the foundational aspect is also how do you train these models, right? So the idea is that there are public models which are available, which are trained on public data. Then you take it to your in-house, and there are also models which you take it and train on your private data, right? So both are there, right? So it's not that you expose your data to a public API, a public model, and get it trained. So that doesn't happen in a completely secure environment. So we primarily look at private models is something that we definitely look at and do this. The industry is very clear in terms of that segregation, and for us, data is primary priority. So for us, we are making sure that all the instruments are there to make sure that there are no data leaks or data privacy issue come up. Yeah.
So we have our own internal version of the GPT, right? As you said, we need to use some of those models for our testing, right? When we offer it to our internal developers, we make sure the PI data is removed before the data is sent out to the public models, right? So that way we are ensuring that we are not sending any confidential data to the public models. That's kind of the private AI development that we do.
It's a good opportunity to upskill on certain things, but I have a very controversial opinion about GPTs, and I would give you a very recent example where
Yes, do share.
we were actually looking at, I mean, not related to Guidewire, a couple of our friends where we were trying to set up a process for one of the CSR initiatives that we are trying to do. And we wanted a name, very unique name for that. And I reached out to all my friends and networks and industry connects. Then I realized that all the suggestions came from all the people are almost similar. Right, everyone tried ChatGPT, even the person that I always looked up to in terms of creativity, they also came back with similar. So that time I got a big revelation in terms of, are we, is AI helping us, or AI is actually defining us to think the way they think, right? Yes, I think that's a very, very interesting topic, because we should never use our creative element, right? And the way we are moving towards, I think I have little bit of skepticism where we are merging both the things together. We are slowly kind of, in this world, everything is software defined.
The lines are kind of
yeah. I think the human element and that creative element is somewhat missing in many of the aspects. And be it the letters, I mean, very interesting. We hire close to 100 people in a year, and now these days it has gone up, right? All the resumes look the same, all the letters look the same, all the introduction email look the same, right? We are losing that human touch, right? I mean, that's something that I really miss these days in many of the email communications. AI, to a great extent, is an enabler for a person who is not really skilled to write those emails. Definitely, it's an inclusive step for them. But for someone who is on a much higher level, I think you should really look at ChatGPT not defining the way they should respond to really making the maximum out of that platform. Right? I think that demarcation is extremely, extremely important from that perspective.
I think, like you said, I mean, are we going to get to a time when I think the human element would differentiate, like say in a resume out of all the AI generated ones?
No, I think for me, the biggest thing is that the uniqueness that each one of us carry, right, that should not get lost in this. The interesting perspective is that all of us have very different, diverse perspective based on the upbringing, based on the situation that we handled. Our responses are also very different. A transformer model or a large language model will not be able to give that many responses, right? It will standardize, make an average out of it and give you a response which is not really a unique response that you really need, right? So in the largest game, I think we should not lose ourselves as humanity, right? We should still have that ingenuity clear and loud. I think that's something that I'm really looking forward. I'm a very strong proponent of private LLMs, like a personal LLMs. So I should have a personal large language model, which is me in my own sense, right? Not something like a very public model where my thoughts and my perspectives are kind of buried inside, right? So I believe the personal LLMs will be something which would really create a mark in going, and that's also inclusive, right? I mean, I'll just give you a very basic example. If you really look at the website, right, all the websites are the same, and probably the way I would really like to see a website would completely vary from someone else who is an ADHD or who is an autistic or who is neurodiverse in their own dimension, right? Generative AI can play a huge role in dynamically creating the website based on the preferences that specific individual is having, right? Probably I would like more visuals and videos and colors. For someone else, it could be monochrome. right? We still haven't reached there. There is a huge opportunity out there. And we always talk about multimodal, right? Multimodal integration coming at play, right? But we have still not reached there. It's a huge opportunity. The way an autistic could see the colors, see the pattern would be very different from what I could see, I could process, right? We should not be just ignorant on the fact, but that's a huge opportunity with generative AI. And still, there are changes. The scripting languages have changed. The way you build the website have changed. But it's still the way a publisher wants to see, right? It doesn't dynamically get generated. The way, for example, if I am creating a site, the site is created based on my preferences, not really. I mean, definitely there are a little bit of customization, personalization is available, but it doesn't dynamically build that site based on your preferences, right? GenAI could do that magic. So there is a huge opportunity out there.
We saw the Apple event where they've introduced Apple Intelligence, and where your Siri would it's almost like a personalized thing based on your phone, on your thing. Yeah. Is that something in line with?
Yeah, absolutely. But I would like to have full control over my model and the data, right? The moment I share that model with someone else, my uniqueness is gone, right? So I think, yeah, I think we are still very early in this stage. The world is, I think this is the first time I'm realizing the fact that I think the technology has gone far beyond that than our imaginations, right? I think that's a huge realization, especially the last post-COVID world. I think the way the tech has moved, it's much steeper than it ever used to be. For sure, at I think multiple points in the history, there used to be this exponential spike in tech. But what we are going through at this point of time is it has a far greater implication than anything else, right?
And can you touch upon your expansion plans and the growth plans in India for Guidewire?
So we are close to 300 people now. So again, our primary focus is we are the youngest development center for Guidewire all across the world. We started almost 3 years back with acquiring a company in Chennai, which is Startup Science, which was working on cyber risk. And then we added more portfolio topics to India, especially the cloud transformation topics, that the common cloud services is completely built out of India team. Again, the CDP where Raman leads the team, the cloud data platform, it's completely driven out of India. So again, if you really look at it is those very critical, very crucial portfolio topics which are coming to India. So in the next 2 years, we would be easily 500 to 600 people, and then it would go upwards is something that we are seeing. Bangalore would remain as a significant development center. We'll still have the Chennai location, but the core of engineering would happen in Bangalore.
So currently, what is the strength that you have?
So we are close to 300. I mean, just to give you the last 5 months, we have released close to 75 offers to people. So every day the numbers are changing because we are close to 300 at this point of time. Yeah.
And you're looking to expand to other cities as well?
No, I think at this point of time, it's completely Bangalore because we just wanted to have very clear focus. We are just like a startup, at the same time having the security of a publicly listed company. So we come together, we huddle together and look at what's something that we have to collectively work on it. So for us to have that focus, I think that 2 locations is fine. Yeah.
And just a question on your personal side. So you were last with SAP Labs and you were the chief operating officer there. So you have worked with like major SaaS market last. So what has your experience been all these years, and to make this transition from that to say Guidewire? So just on how do you feel and how has it been?
As I mentioned, I joined SAP as a developer. Every 2 years, I used to switch my roles. The last role being the chief operating officer for SAP, and great learnings. And in that 18-year journey, I also had an opportunity to set up the first startup accelerator program for SAP all across the world, It is called SAP Startup Studio, where we had an opportunity to incubate close to 66 startups. 2 of those startups are unicorns in India, so which means a 1 billion in valuation, which baked out of our.
Can you name them?
Yeah, Moglix and Hello Messenger. Yeah, so 2 of them. So I think it is, and the biggest learning for me was our ability to work with some of these founders, right? Exceptional founders who believe that one idea can change the world, because everyone comes with that intent, right? So it was a huge learning opportunity. Then I worked on HEC, HANA Enterprise Cloud, where we moved large customers to the cloud at SAP. Then I led the engineering team. So it was very diverse set of experiences. Then finally I did an operations role, which was the chief operating officer for India. And then we had close to 16,000 employees across 5 different locations. So the challenges were completely different. But all throughout, I think the constant feeling was that, so there is a huge opportunity for us to leverage tech to address many of the challenges that be it operations role, be it engineering, be it working with startup, there is a huge tech at play, right? And in India, especially with the ecosystem that you have, right, there is a huge opportunity to learn from each other. The Startup Studio was an open innovation program where people come together and collectively look at what are the big topics, how we can use technology. While SAP has given me the vision in terms of, or experience in terms of scaling the products, serving a 500K customers, 500,000 customers, and addressing their pain points, taking it to the market. Guidewire has grounded me really well, and then learning those core tech foundations and helping the customers to go really very targeted, very focused industry, and helping that very focused industry to consume innovation at a much faster pace, right? That's very, very different, right? Running a horizontal SaaS versus a vertical SaaS is completely different. It's a completely different ball game altogether, because your total TAM itself is much smaller, because when you have a horizontal SaaS, the TAM is much higher, right? But the vertical SaaS, the total addressable market is less, but at the same time, you build a very close relationship with your customers and partners who are out there, right? And very focused innovation that you do.
So wonderful. I think we come to the end of the episode of Tech Talks. Thank you so much for giving us the time. Thank you, Anzy. Thank you, Raman. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vandana, for
Thanks,
coming
Vandana.
down.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.